The first thing to get started on in your game when you spawn in is getting to Pack-a-Punch, so we'll talk about that now. Immediately when you spawn into your game, sprint over to the teleporter and activate it to start a 30-second timer. While that timer's going, the rounds in your game are going to keep progressing even if you're not killing zombies. So while you're waiting out those 30 seconds, you might as well kill as many zombies as you can and make sure to pick up the salvage they drop as well. The second the timer ends, use the teleporter, and if you're in solo like me, you'll see that you'll be able to get out of that area on round 3. The rounds will no longer continuously progress over time, and you can now take as much time as you need to slowly go through the rounds and do the things you need to do to get to pack. Also, if you're the sort of player that wants to pick up Jug as early as possible in your game, you don't need to activate any power switches in order to get the machine. It's right there in front of you after you teleport, so you can just save up and then buy it straight away. Follow the route that I'm taking in game, and I recommend taking the left side because we can lie down in front of this stamina machine here to get more points, and then open the remaining door that you need to get to the next teleporter. In this next area, we're gonna need to open 4 different doors, and obviously that costs money, and you probably don't have enough of them right now, so kill the remaining zombies to end the round, and then fight through pretty much all of the next round until you've got 1 or 2 zombies left. I'm now going to show you all the spawn locations for the 4 parts you need, and the first can be found in the video store. Make sure to grab your free points, and then check the box on the left here. If it's not there, check the shelf on the right-hand side, which is where I have it in my game, and finally, check the box where I'm pointing just there. Next, we'll head into the cinema. The mannequin on the left here can be holding the part you need. It can also be behind the kind of counter here next to the candy, and finally it can be where it is in my game on this little bench. We'll do the TV store next. It can be on the left here between these 2 TVs in the kind of window. It can also be on this little metal tray / bench, and finally it's where it is in my game on the shelf. And finally we have Burger Town. The first spawn is under the American flag here, the second spawn is to the left of the cola machine where I have it in my game, and the third is inside this glass case. If you've gone through all those locations and you're still missing one somehow, then just check those areas that I mentioned. That's Burger Town, the TV store, the video store, and the cinema. The parts definitely will be located in there, but assuming you've now got all 4, you can repair this teleporter and teleport to the next location. When you get there, run straight through and open this metal door on the left, and that'll get you into the amplifier room of the particle accelerator, and you then just need to run up to the teleporter in front of you here, and an abomination will spawn. Now, a pro tip here is to check how much salvage you have, and if you have 500 common salvage, you can just buy tier 1 armor from the armor machine very nearby, and that's going to make you feel a little bit safer while you're killing the abomination. The best way to kill this thing, in my opinion, is just to not panic. Remember, you've kept like 1 or 2 zombies alive max, so there's not a lot of pressure here to actually take this thing down. So just wait for one of its heads to glow purple and then shoot that. It will take extra damage, and when it pops, it will do a massive chunk of damage to the abomination. Don't be afraid to run off and just wait a moment while it does its electric attack or its charge attack. As you can see, I'm really taking my time here. There's no need to rush at all, and once you take out that final head, it will most likely end the round, so it might take you over to round 5. But don't worry, you're done. You can now teleport, and as soon as you teleport, you can head right over to this button here to end the lockdown, and that's essentially Pack-a-Punch completed. It's right in front of you. You can Pack-a-Punch. It costs the normal amount of points. You've got your alternate ammo types, all that good stuff. And remember, they added the thing where you can knife it as well with the camos. Yeah, that's there too. So that's how you Pack-a-Punch. Now let's quickly run through where all the perks are so that you can start spending the rest of your money on all of those. I'm going to be pretty speedy about this because honestly, it doesn't take that long to just show you the location of a machine. So first up, this is Jug. This is one of the first perks you're going to run into when you're playing your match and going through to get Pack-a-Punch. Next up, not too far away, we have the Stamina machine just here. After that, we've got the Speed Cola machine just here. In this room, you're going to be able to find the Quick Revive machine. This is the location of Tombstone. This is where Mule Kick is going to be on the map. The Deadshot Daiquiri machine is located just here. The Elemental Pop machine is located just here. Just here, you've got Death Perception. PhD Flopper, the one and only, is located just here, and the Wonder Fizz can be found just here. This next tip is something that some of you might already know and think is super obvious, but others might have totally missed it. So just so you're aware, there is a rappel, or is it rappel? I don't know how you pronounce it. There is a rappel though, just here, which means that you can get onto the roof in this area much more easily. At first in my game, I thought that you had to like run all the way around and then go back up the stairs. You don't. You can just go to this rappel, that can get you back on the roofs, and then you can get to where you need to go much more quickly if you use it. Also, don't be afraid to jump over these barriers and things like that. You don't always have to go downstairs in order to get downstairs. You can just jump off roofs and stuff. Like, that is totally okay. You're not gonna die, and you can always get PhD and stomp zombies below you, so it's a win-win. Okay, let's talk about the wonder weapon in Foresaken. It's obviously early days, and so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some buffs or nerfs coming to the wonder weapon, and also some adjustments of exactly how certain aspects of its kit function, but we'll talk about that in a moment. First of all, what is the wonder weapon? Well, it's this thing, which has a pretty awesome name. It's the Chrysalax, and its two forms are referred to as the Chrysalax Storm and the Chrysalax Savager. It also has really cool Pack-a-Punch names. So in axe form, its name is Tenebris Anima, and in gun form, it's Tenebris Cor Meum. If you whack those two names into Google Translate from Latin to English, you get Tenebris Anima translating to Dark Soul, and Tenebris Cor Meum translating to My Dark Heart. So those are pretty cool names, but what do each of the forms do? Well, we'll start with the axe form. Your regular fire here, your shoot button essentially, is a double axe swing. The alternate fire for this is essentially as if you were ADSing with the axe. That's going to fire out an energy blade, but this does require energy charges in order to do. You get 5 energy charges regardless of whether you're pack-a-punched or not, I believe, and you can only get those energy charges back in 3 ways, I believe, which we'll talk about in a moment. This is what it looks like in-game when you do it, and if you hold down your ADS button, you can actually keep the energy blade spinning in place wherever you fired it to, and then when you release, you can return it back to you and keep on swinging or doing whatever else you want to do. Now, if any of you guys played Hades, you might be thinking, hold on a minute, this feels pretty damn familiar, and I don't blame you for thinking that. I thought the exact same thing when I first saw it, and honestly, I love it. I love the fact that Treyarch has embraced this kind of weapon type and is trying out something like this. It's a sort of unique wonder weapon in that sense, so thumbs up on that front, and that's before we've even switched it over to its alternate form, so we're really getting a lot of value for money here in this wonder weapon. Some things you might want to try with the energy blade include firing it onto the floor and holding it down, and then running an entire horde through it and just continuously having all the spawned in zombies run through the blade. It's a really effective way to get a bunch of kills, lock down a location, and if you're camping somewhere as well and there's only one way the zombies can get in, this thing's going to be super OP for you. Another thing you might want to try is firing the energy blade at an Abomination, because it'll make really light work of the Abomination, as you can see in this clip here, which was a very pleasant surprise, to be honest, because those things are just so annoying sometimes. When you press up on your D-pad, or B, I think, on keyboard, you can switch it to the gun version of the weapon, Tenebris Cor Meum, like I mentioned, and this form's a little bit more straightforward. It's just a gun, so you just shoot it with your shoot button, or you can aim down sight with your aim down sight button. Now, the cool thing about this one is when you're shooting it at the zombies, you'll have a chance to kind of infect the zombie you're shooting with ether crystals. And if you fire into them enough, they'll explode and deal massive area of effect damage to any zombies nearby. This is a big deal. Like, it kind of feels like the wave clear that you get when you trigger your Reiki blast by shooting the ball from the Reiki. And it's important too because of the next thing we're going to talk about, which is the kind of ammo swapping feature that this wonder weapon has. So when you do manage to trigger one of those purple ether explosions by shooting zombies with the gun, you'll notice that a crystal will drop out that you can pick up. And this is actually ammo for your energy blade. So it's ammo for the other version of the weapon to the one you're currently holding. And the same applies with the axe. You can be swinging the axe around, you can see crystals spawn on the floor, and those crystals will be ammo for the gun version of the wonder weapon. And this basically means that at all times, the player is incentivized to constantly switch between the two weapon types. If you run out of energy blades and you want more, you have to switch to the gun and start shooting that into the zombies, triggering those explosions, getting those crystals, and then you can switch back and use more blades. If you run out of gun ammo, same thing. You need to start swinging that axe around and get your crystals so you get more gun ammo. The crystals are different colors, by the way, so purple corresponds to energy blade ammo and blue corresponds to gun ammo. Also, this is probably pretty obvious, but you do get more ammo for the gun version when you pack a punch, so that might be worth doing in your game. And also, if you're a bit confused about how to tell if you have any energy blade charges or not, you just need to look at the kind of sharp part of the axe. If that's quite a dull color, if it looks like it's kind of dark, that's an indicator that you're out of charges, you've got no charge left. Whereas if it's much brighter, as you can see in the clip here, then that's a sign that you do indeed have charges left that you can fire. Also, I mentioned there were 3 ways for you to get back your energy charges. You can also get charges from a max ammo that will refill all of your energy blade charges and also give you gun ammo. And you can do the exact same thing by buying ammo from an ammo crate. Doing that will cost you like 10k, but it will refill both your energy blade charges and all of your gun ammo. Now, before we talk about how good the wonder weapon actually is and what round it stops being effective on, stuff like that, we have to talk about the origins of this wonder weapon because, I mean, it's just so cool what they've done here. So in the map, you can find a kind of scroll which tells you about the Chrysalax, and it says the following: forged in the pools of Ethereum, 2 forms the Chrysalax shall take. The Savager, sharp as the mountains in the badlands of Disparax. The Storm, powerful as the winds on the ocean of Zephoria. For if you are to defeat the one who is many, it will take both to tear him apart. The Devoured shall be reborn. Their scattered ashes shall be reformed. The Foresaken's torment will be undone when the old ones reign once more. And that's signed with the name Sparagmos, who's a totally new character. We've never heard of this guy before, as far as I'm aware at least, and I'm just intrigued. I'm loving this. The fact that there's some Cold War Zombies sort of story-related stuff that's actually pulling me in and hooking me here is so good to see too, because it's really been a while. And it gives us this really mysterious flavor of where the Chrysalax has come from. Forged in the pools of Ethereum. What pools of Ethereum? That's new. And it doesn't end there. This Sparagmos fella goes on to tell us even more. There are 3 crystals which are key components to the Chrysalax. The first is a geode. Sparagmos says, created by the blast of the 3-headed beast, the geode's sharp edges could cut through, and then there's a name that I'm honestly really struggling to read here, but I think it says Luvatos. So the geode could cut through Luvatos's shield, let alone the flesh of mortal or unmortal. The Chrysalax Savager cannot be forged without it. Next, he says, ripped from the chest of a tormented soul, the crystal heart burns with such vigor it could power the commons of Aorteus, I think? Be wary, for its fire must remain lit for its potency to be assured. And then last but not least, the polymorphic crystal can shift its shape seamlessly, the source of the Chrysalax's transformative prowess. A crystal of my own creation, ensuring the weapon cannot be forged without my guidance. By my hand shall the Forsaken be undone. He may have enslaved my disciples, but he shall not enslave me. Sparagmos. So I won't go any deeper into this lore now, I'll save that for other videos, but the fact that this is actually really interesting stuff bodes so well for the future. I'm sure that in Vanguard we're going to be getting even more crazy mystical weaponry and hints towards Dark Ether, voodoo, and occult experimentation during World War II and all sorts of stuff. So very, very exciting. And we can now move on to whether or not the Chrysalax is actually any good, especially in those higher rounds. So the Chrysalax is going to stop one-hitting in its axe form at round 44. But this does not mean that it instantly becomes bad, because bear in mind, you're double swinging and you can constantly get your ammo back, so the fact that you're having to chew through more ammo or more swings is annoying, yes, and it does mean you're a little bit less safe, but it's not one of those moments where it's like instant light switch, this is the end of the world, this thing sucks now for the weapon. I'll put a bit of gameplay on screen here of me using it in earlier rounds and then using it in the sort of higher rounds to give you a feel for what that difference makes once it does stop one hitting. And while that plays, I'm going to let you in on a little secret that you might not have spotted with the axe, but that makes a really big difference to how good this thing is. So as you can see in these clips, when I'm attacking zombies with the axe, I actually am life stealing health and armor from the zombies. And I don't need to explain to you why that's amazing. It's just goddamn amazing. Treyarch, thank you so much for doing this. The fact that it's a melee weapon, it's close range, you're more exposed to getting hit by zombies and stuff, obviously means that there is higher risk when using it in its axe form, but the reward of being able to lifesteal, oh my goodness, chef's kiss, this is just brilliant. I will temper all of your excitement with one little caveat though, which is that some people have been reporting that while swinging the axe, they've been getting blue screen errors, so if you blue screen while using the axe, maybe consider mainly using other weapons for a bit, or other forms of the wonder weapon, until Treyarch gets a patch out to sort that out. Also, I've somehow gone this whole video without talking about where you get the weapon from. It's from either the mystery box or the trials machine, just like previous wonder weapons, or it's got its own quest to guarantee you to get it, and that's what we will be talking about next. So, building the Chrysalax. For this, I'm going to make a suggestion which is not essential by any means, but it will make your life a teeny tiny bit easier later on. So the suggestion is to spawn in with a melee weapon as your loadout weapon. Just because towards the end we're going to be getting melee kills, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have one. Another thing that could alternatively make this easier is to make sure that you've upgraded your melee weapons in your skill tiers. There are some really good upgrades in there, and they will make this a lot easier if you do this wonder weapon guide in the first, let's say, 13-ish rounds of your game. So they're definitely worth spending some crystals on in my opinion. Also, so you're aware, this process can only be started once you've already got to the Pack-a-Punch and lifted the lockdown by pressing that big red button in the middle of the room. So do that first before you try to proceed. So once you've turned on Pack-a-Punch, you're going to want to go to this second red button in the same room that you were just in and hit that to trigger an Easter egg cutscene. Once you get out of that cutscene, you're going to want to go forwards 2 rounds. So essentially you need to end the round you're on and then do all of the next round, and then the round after that is the one you want to get to. Once you've made it there, come to Jim's Donut Shop, which is nearby to the Juggernog machine. It's in that first area you teleport to when you initially get out of the spawn. Instead of grabbing a tasty snack from Jim, we're going to be looking for an orange crystal behind his counter. And you'll notice that if you go up to that crystal and start tinkering with it, maybe you hold square, you shoot it a little bit, and just sort of sit on top of it like a chicken hibernating an egg, you'll find that lots of special zombies are going to spawn in. So things like mimics are going to be all over the place, plague hounds, stuff like that. You need to take out all those special zombies, and once you do that, you'll probably get another 1 or 2 special waves, so long as you're still sitting on the crystal and kind of in that zone. When you've taken out all the special waves, though, you'll end up being able to pick up the crystal, and it will be the first of 3 that we need in this Easter egg in order to build the Chrysalax. The second crystal can be acquired from a Tormentor zombie, and there seems to be a sort of specific method that the community has settled on to do this most consistently, and it's using a flamethrower. So you can build flamethrowers from crafting benches around the map. It's just going to be a support streak essentially, and when you buy one, you're going to wait for a Tormentor to spawn in and then burn it to death. The reason for this is that fire is going to interact with the Tormentor in a special way, and out will pop another crystal, and now that's 2 out of 3. For the third crystal, you're going to need an Abomination. That's the thing that looks a little bit like a Margwa crossed with a chicken. They spawn in every 4 to 5 rounds, and you can also forcibly spawn them in by doing the big purple crystal steps in the main quest Easter egg. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you probably don't need to worry about it, but I'll link the main quest Easter egg in the description down below anyway, just in case you want to give it a watch. But to keep things simple in this video, just wait for an Abomination to spawn, and then bring it over to one of the purple ether crystals that will have popped up around the map. Not the really massive ones, but the smaller ones that are in like every single location pretty much. Normally you can destroy those and get like 100 points or maybe a little bit of salvage, and they respawn each round. But for this, we're not going to destroy it. We're actually going to let the Abomination shoot it with its kind of electric lasers. When that happens, it will destroy it, and in its place will be your third and final crystal that you can pick up. Now is the moment of truth, and now is also the reason why I mentioned melee weapons at the start of the video. You're going to want to come to this area of the particle accelerator and find a liquid container to place the crystals inside. When you do so, a mixing process will occur, and you will need to get 10 melee kills near the crystals to charge them up. If you don't have a melee weapon at this point in the game, don't worry, you can get them out of the box, remember? And if you do pull one from the box, it's pretty likely to do good damage because all the melee weapons in the box are kind of cracked. So that's one option. Another option is just to do this while you have insta-kill. That's obviously going to make your life a lot easier, and you won't need to worry about what kind of melee weapon you have. Or you can just continuously knife the zombies until they die, and hopefully you're on a low round and it's not actually that bad. Whatever you choose to do, once you've got your 10 melee kills, you'll have finished building the Chrysalax and you'll be able to just pick it right up. Congratulations, that's the end of this particular quest. This sets you up really well to go to high rounds, which we'll talk about in a second, or to do the main quest Easter egg for this map, and I highly recommend you do this because it's so much fun. I've got that linked in the corner of the screen right now and in the description. Give it a go, guys. You will not regret it. Okay, let's talk about how you play Nacht der Untoten, and actually sort of more broadly, which arcade machine challenge is the best one and which situations they each fit the best. First of all, how does the arcade work? There are several machines in the arcade, and each one costs 1 arcade token to play. These tokens can be acquired from killing zombies. They'll just drop them on the floor, or you can actually pay for them, but they cost 10 grand per arcade token, which is pretty pricey. And granted, some of the rewards could be worth that, but others really won't be. You can also only hold 1 arcade token at a time, so if you've got one, you should probably use it so you can start working towards getting your next one. So let's try out one of the games. The first one we'll take a look at is Enduro, and this one's going to spawn you in as an ARC-XD. You'll see a bunch of ramps around you, lots of moving platforms, stuff like that, and on those platforms are small points canisters, which have 100 points in each of them, and larger bonus points drops, which are worth 500 points each. Total, you're probably looking at about 5,000 points if you get every single thing in the room, but the tricky thing about Enduro is that it's very, very easy easy to just fall off the platforms. If you're at slightly the wrong angle, or you just have too much speed or not enough speed, your ARCXD will bounce around, you'll fly off the side of a ledge, you'll end up back on the floor, and it's just really aggravating. So honestly, of all of the different challenges, I think that this one has the highest skill ceiling and also sort of the lowest rewards threshold. But that doesn't mean you should never do this. If you just need points, this is a really good one to do, and with a little bit of practice, you can get fairly good at it and get used to kind of timing the jumps and stuff like that. Like, it's not going to be that different every single time. So if you're a big zombies grinder, practice will make perfect on this one, and you can get a bunch of points from it if that's what you need specifically in your game. Next up, the Der Eisendrache challenge. This one's going to spawn you in right in front of one of those fillable rockets that has a dragon head on it that they introduced in Outbreak. And of course, alongside it, you'll have a ring of fire on the floor, which indicates the zone in which you need to kill zombies. There are 4 spawn points that will surround you, so you haven't really got that much space to get away from the zombies here. You're just going to need to kill them as they come, and as long as you're killing zombies within the circle, you will be working your way towards filling up the dragon's hungry tummy. Now, it takes about 50-55 seconds, I'd say, tops, as long as you're actually killing everything as it spawns, of course. And if successful, you'll get a little happy face signal on the rocket ship. The dragon will give you a little roar and wiggle his way back inside, and underneath the rocket, when it blasts off, you will get a golden chest, once again, just like in Outbreak. The rewards for the chest are also pretty similar to what you'd expect from Outbreak, so things like perks are very likely, legendary weapons, potentially even wonder weapons can all come out of this chest. You also quite often get a bunch of armor, salvage, and a field upgrade like refresh so that you can just use your ether shroud or whatever all over again if you used it during the challenge. Next up, the challenge you've probably all been waiting for, the one and only World War arcade machine, which leads you straight into Nacht der Untoten. Except it's not quite the Nacht you'll remember, because while you're in there, you'll be able to look outside the Nacht building and see that this is just like a reconstruction. It's not actually Nacht, and you're also limited to just the spawn room. So you can't go into the help room, you can't go upstairs. There actually isn't even a help room door that's there. Like, they didn't even recreate that part of it, which is quite interesting to think about from like a lore perspective. But anyway, zombies will be rambling towards you here, so keep your wits about you, but you don't need to panic too much, because even if you're on a pretty high round, they'll be pretty slow zombies usually. And while your weapons have been replaced, the zombies will still die to 1 bullet in the head from your M1911, for example. If you kill the zombies quickly enough, you'll get to the end of the wave and a little rewards crate will spawn, which you can get probably like some free salvage from, and then more zombies will start spawning. You're now going to want to just do the same thing all over again. Kill the zombies essentially as quickly as you can, and if you do that wave quick enough, another crate will spawn, and out of this one, you'll get a bunch of salvage, but you'll often get something like maybe a free DMR weapon, something like that for you to pick up, maybe some points as well. And then another final wave will begin, and this obviously is the last one, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but you just need to fight your way through the zombies, and if you complete it within the total time limit that you have for this arcade challenge, you'll end up getting a big rewards crate, which will have a whole load of stuff in it. You'll probably get some high-grade salvage, you'll probably get loads of points from it, you'll also most likely get a field upgrade refresh, all that sort of stuff. And so, by looking at the rewards here and comparing them to what you get from the other challenges, it should be pretty clear which arcade challenge you want to do in your game at any given time. If you're looking for just points, and nothing else, then Enduro is obviously your best bet, even though it's hard. If you're more interested in salvage, but also wouldn't mind some points here and there if they happen to appear, then Nacht der Untoten is a really good call. However, it's the Der Eisendrache Dragon Challenge that I think is overall the best one, because you're not only going to get potentially a perk from it, but also a very high value legendary weapon or a wonder weapon, and a bunch of salvage will come out of that box as well, and just overall it feels like it checks the most possible boxes from just one crate. So those are my thoughts on the 3 standard tier arcade machines, but of course, if people find ways to use the other arcade machines, I'll make a separate video about those. They'll be on my channel. So now we've covered quite a lot of stuff in the map, right? You should be pretty familiar with it, and it's time for us to move on to strategy. The one I'm going to lay out in this video is a pretty fun one in my opinion. You're going to want Ring of Fire in your loadout, so switch over to that if you haven't already got it on. And if you want to kind of get into this strat a bit quicker, you can just stay in the spawn room and rely on the fact that those rounds will just continuously tick forward. And to survive, you can just keep on buying death machines. I learned this from MC Zombie Slayer, shout out to you, mate. It's a really good strat to do until around round 20, I'd say. And then you're going to get into the proper strat that we're going to be using here. Obviously, get set up at this point, like spend all your money and all that good stuff. And then stand on top of this truck. You're going to use Ring of Fire when you have it. So that won't be all the time, of course, because you need to charge it back up again. And that's going to cover you from any disciples that start trying to do their like aerial attacks at you. And it's also going to prevent zombies from meeting you. Currently, there's not much meeting that happens in this spawn spot, so it's a pretty damn good spot because of that. But who knows, that may change in the future. Of course, I'll post more strategy videos as well, by the way, if this like gets patched somehow, because it's a pretty easy strat in my opinion. But yeah, you just stay on the truck there, using ring when you need it or when things get sketchy or whenever you have it essentially. And the zombies will pretty much just mantle from one spot in front of you, and you can just take them all down using the axe really, really easily. If anything goes wrong, there's an armor station really nearby, and you can also teleport to Pack-a-Punch super easily too, of course. And you can just do this for ages. Like, it's actually insane how long this works for. Bear in mind, at round 44, the axe swing is going to become a 2-hit kill, not a 1-hit kill. But the fact that this strat lets you get to round 50 pretty much without even thinking about it. So that's the strat that I wanted to cover in this guide, because I felt like it was a really good one for people that were maybe a little bit newer to the map potentially, but wanted to put a really good round number on the leaderboard. So this has been a really long video, but there's one last thing you need to do, and it's the main quest Easter egg for Foresaken. I've got my guide linked in the description. Give it a go, guys. You won't regret it.